Hey, good morning to you, Dana and Bill. So remember, rank and file members of the GOP Republican conference haven't gotten a briefing yet on Venezuela. So this is perfect timing. They'll have an opportunity to ask the president themselves directly questions about the strikes that happened just a couple of days ago, and specifically also about messaging, how to message this to the voters ahead of the midterms, because you'll remember there are plenty of people in the MAGA base that do not want U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts in foreign countries. So the president will likely talk about the fact that this is not a war. This is how he is putting it right now, that this is not a war that we're engaged in right now. He told NBC News yesterday that Venezuela will also not have elections anytime soon, at least not immediately, because we have to, quote, fix the country first. You can't have an election. There's no way to help people. There's no way that people could even vote. We have to nurse the country back to health, he said. To do that, he has put in charge Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and the White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, adding that the U.S. is looking to help to pay for U.S. oil companies to rebuild Venezuela's energy infrastructure, a project the president says could take less than 18 months, very fast. The administration believes that Venezuela's oil is key here to creating stability in that country.
His priority right now is on security, prosperity, stability. So he is working round the clock to get Venezuela's oil industry up and running to where it needs to be in a way that only America, and this is very important, only the United States, with our technology, our platforms, our resources can provide.
Meantime, Nicolas Maduro's only son, who was also indicted, is now calling on Venezuelans to take to the streets to protest his father's arrest, saying, quote, "You will see us in the streets. You will see a united people. You will see us wave the flags of dignity." Of course, the president also today, talking about midterms, wants to talk about the economy, his economic policies. He wants to talk about how they're working, his tax cuts, the big, beautiful bill. So a lot could come out of this meeting in just the next couple of hours here.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, when you do the fun, done go. Thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening me.
The beard, ladies and gentlemen, stays on, and it's back. And whoa, okay, it looks like we are seeing some motion here. President Trump may well be taking the stage right off of the top here of the show. Just in time, we are live right now. Boy, sometimes you just hit it right as President Trump walks on stage to the Lee Greenwood classic tome, God Bless the USA. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, today is Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Trump is speaking live to the Republican conference inside of the U.S. Capitol building. He's speaking live song, right now. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is Benny Show. Let's listen to the president live, crisp, now.
Special people, and I want to just say that, I announced I was coming over here, and I said, I love those Republicans, and I meant it. I said, except for maybe a couple I don't love. But the people in this room, I don't know if those couple are here. I don't know. I don't care if they're here or not. But we love you, and you've done an amazing job. You love the country. You're doing what's right for the country. And I want to wish everybody a happy new year, the most successful House Republican majority in decades. And we did it with not a big majority. Right? That was not a big majority, but it's a unified majority, and it's people that know what it takes to make America great again. So together we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we're going to make history and break records with the epic midterm victory that we're going to pull off. It just doesn't seem to happen for people that win the presidency. It's an amazing phenomenon. You win the presidency, and we sure as hell are having a successful presidency. I will say that. But even if it's a successful presidency, and it's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win. I don't know what it is. There's something psychological, like you vote against. You can win by a lot. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. So you're all brilliant people. Most of you are in this business longer than me. That makes me smarter than you. Because look where I am, right? No, it doesn't. But I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy. They don't. They have horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious. They're vicious people. And they stick together like glue. They don't have a couple of the people that we have. A couple of people, not too many, really very few. And that's why I want to just say that before we go any further, I want to express our tremendous sorrow at the loss of a great member, a great, great, great member, Congressman Doug LaMalfa, who passed away yesterday, as you probably have heard. And he was the leader of the Western Caucus, a fierce champion on California water issues. He was great on water. He wanted, release the water, he'd scream at him. And his wife, Jill, and his entire family. He voted with me 100% of the time. And by the way, he wasn't a 3 o'clock in the morning person. Do you know what I mean by that? Where the speaker goes, sir, could you call up? Could you call? I said, what time is it, speaker? Sir, it's 3 in the morning. Could you make a couple of calls? How many? 9. So I'd start calling 3 in the morning. I said, I shouldn't use any names. I'm just going to create problems. But hi, Jim, and I'm not talking about Jim Jordan. I never had a call 3 in the morning for him. But I said, hi, Jim, how you doing? I just called to say hello, 3 in the okay, sir. Sir, you haven't spoken to me in 3 years, and it's now 3 in the morning, so I know what you want. You want my vote? And usually almost always they'd give it, but they wanted to be called. And with Doug, I never had a call. He was with us right from the beginning. I love those guys. I must say I probably love them the best, the guys that I don't have to call. They know we're doing the right thing. I have a couple that are going to be with us all the way, but they just want the call. They want love. They need love. They're more insecure than most of you. It's true. No, most of you are secure people. You're all laughing. No, most of you are secure people. I had a couple say, look, I could have Trump call me all the time. I just have to break his ass a little bit. And he'll be calling. But I appreciate those. We actually had a little party. We opened up a beautiful section of the White House in the Rose Garden, and we had a party for all of those people that I never speak to and vote for me. And, I spoke to Doug, but I didn't speak to him never had a problem. And I was really saddened by his passing and was thinking about not even doing the speech in his honor. But then I decided that I have to do it in his honor. I'll do it in his honor because he would have wanted it that way. He would have wanted it that way. He would have said, do that speech. Are you kidding me? Do the speech, big guy. But he was a fantastic person. Man, that was a quick one. I don't know quite yet what happened, but boy, it's a tough one. He was just with us. He was our friend, all of us, every one of us. And I also want to send our best wishes to Congressman Jim Baird and his wife, who are recovering from a car accident. They're going to be okay, but they had a pretty bad accident. And we're praying that they get out of that hospital very quickly. He's going to be fine. She's going to be fine, but it was a bad accident. And I want to thank the man who has been central to so many of our triumphs. He really has been. He's the guy that would call me to make those calls all the time. He's always working. And he's a nice person. He's a high quality person. But I want to tell you, he's a very tough cookie. I've seen both sides. Not often do I have to see the other side because he's just, by nature, he's a very fine, religious. I like that. He's a religious person. I like that. I like religious people. It usually means they're more honest. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. I've had some real religious ones that did numbers on me, and I said, I'm going to get them someday. They got me by surprise, but it's usually good, okay, right? And his name is Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson. He has my complete and total endorsement. Stand up, Speaker. So, but it is true. A lot of times they'll say, I wish Mike were tougher. He's tough. He's tough as anybody in the room, actually. But can't be tough when you have a majority of 3. And now, sadly, a little bit less than that. I mean, a little bit less than that, maybe. But you can't be Trump. You can't, I want you. You make 10 enemies, 20 enemies. That's the end of that, right? Everybody loves him. I would say there's one person he's given up on. I mean, I think he just gave up on this guy. He's so bad. He never votes for us. But no matter how good, he won't vote for us. There's a sickness there. There's something wrong. You can have the greatest bill, the greatest for the country. Forget about for Republicans. Great, great, great for the country. I'm a no vote. We don't even bother calling him at 3 in the morning, do we? Huh? But I want to thank another guy who's as tough as they come, because he went through something that none of us have gone through. I went through a little shot, but I get that throbbing feeling every once in a while. But what he went through was incredible. And that Steve Scalise, he got hit hard. Where's Steve? Steve. He's a tough cookie. He was dead. I went to the hospital. His wife was crying so much. It was a mess. Oh, yeah, she loves you. That's the only thing I learned about Steve, that he has a wife who loves him. Because I've gone to hospitals where guys are in bad shape and the wife couldn't care less. She's waiting. She's looking for the next guy. Who's the next guy down the pike? Who the hell is the next guy? He's died. I said, that's so bad. Oh, yeah. I had one where the dog died and the husband died at the same time. I said, it's so sad. Yes, I love this dog so much. She couldn't give it, and the guy left her a fortune. Can you imagine? I shouldn't have left her anything, but she was much more concerned. It's true. Oh, the dog was devastated. The husband, he was like an afterthought. Your wife loves you, Steve. She's a great wife. Another one who has a great wife, Jackie. Is Tom Emmer, right? Look at you. You have a great wife, but you haven't been tested like these guys. You haven't. We don't want to test her, right? She's incredible. She's a strong, beautiful, great person. She's a great person. She actually liked me at the beginning when we were having little fights. We weren't even having fights. We just didn't know each other. And I heard he said something negative about me. He was sort of right about the subject, but you're not supposed to say ever, even though you're right. But Jackie was saying, I'm telling you, he's a great guy. He's good. He's going to be a great president, blah, blah, blah. She was fighting for me. And now I love this guy. He's great. She was right about both of us, I think, right? But Tom has been incredible. He's incredible at what he does. He's a great team player. Your conference chair, Lisa McLean, is so strong and powerful and beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you. And I think the broadcast, we said we don't care if the press comes or not. So when I say that, that means that they're broadcasting all this. And I'm letting my feelings out because it's true. I feel that way about so many people in the room. I could say it about many of the people in the room. Some I don't know as well, but many of the people in the room. They're incredible people. You're incredible what you're doing. We also have another one, Richard Hudson, chairman, NRCC. Richard's always in there, always with a smile. No matter what's happening, Richard, he always has a smile. He's just a positive guy, smart and positive. Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate it. You do a great job. Republican Policy Committee Chairman, Kevin Hearn. Kevin, where are you, Kevin? Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Did a great job. Every one of you got to be proud of yourselves. And basically the entire House Republican Conference. It's been really amazing what you've done. And we're going to give you some ammunition today. I said, I'd love to make a speech. Speaker asked me, would you make a speech? I said, sure. You think Biden would do that? Would you make a speech? What? First of all, people wouldn't ask him to make a speech because it never worked out well, right? Could never find the exits. You finish, look, stare here, stare there, stare here. You could jump off the front if you had to. No matter what he did, he got himself into trouble. So basically, they didn't ask him to, but if he did, it wouldn't be good. But it's good with me because, we have so much ammunition. We have ammunition. The problem is the fake news. That's why I like being on. I'd much rather do live television than do non-live because, when they say, as an example in my speech, peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, peacefully and patriotically. Do you know that the Unselect Committee didn't report it, that I said those words? Do you know that the news never reported the words walk or march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol? Do you know they never reported it? It's a scandal. The Unselect Committee never reported that. They never reported that Nancy Pelosi was offered 10,000 soldiers, National Guard soldiers, whatever you want. No, I don't want them. And the mayors were in writing. She was more honorable about it. But Nancy got caught when her daughter did a documentary. She's a documentariist. And she has her mother saying, it's my fault. I should have taken the soldiers or something. I saw that in the documentary. I said, whoa, this was a major story. Has she spoken to her daughter since that, But they just, they are vicious people, even on the attack. And it was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it. An amazing military. The people are saying, well, thank you. People are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex. 152 airplanes, many. Talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed. Unfortunately, I say that, soldiers. Cubans, mostly Cubans, but many killed. And they knew we were coming, and they were protected, and our guys weren't. Our guys are jumping out of helicopters, and protected, and they were, but it was so brilliant. The electricity for almost the entire country was, boom, turned off. That's when they knew there was a problem. There was no electricity. Caracas, there's no electricity. It's not the only people with lights were the people that had candles. It was just off. So we sort of got them a little by surprise, but it was brilliant tactically. It was an incredible thing. But I watched where Schumer, he's such a bad guy. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time, and he's such a bad guy. At some point they should say, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job. Their philosophies are so different, but if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, he's a violent guy. He gets up there and he tries to imitate my dance a little bit. But he's a violent guy, and he's killed millions of people. He's tortured. They have a torture chamber in the middle of Caracas that they were closing up. But he's tortured people. And now what they do, the radical left, they actually have people, and it's hard to get them. They're all paid people. Most of these people are paid. They're paid when they have brand new, beautiful printed signs by like the highest quality printer. And you have a woman, free Maduro. And the sign is before we even did the attack. Free Maduro. Why do you want him freed? I don't know, but he should be free. Oh, she reads the sign. What does that say? It says free. Well, that's what I believe. And you see the sign. It's like, Lisa, we should all have quality signage like that. The one thing I want their sign maker. The guy is great. He does beautiful signage. The old days was better when they used to write out their own sign, wasn't it? They'd make a sign in the basement. They'd have an old broken board holding up a sign, and it's made with a magic marker, sloppy as hell, and it meant something. But today, when you have that yellow and black, they should use different colors a little bit. But the yellow is a beautiful shade of yellow. No, I want to find out who that is. I want him to work for the Republican campaign. He's much better than our guy, whoever the guy is. But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us. Nobody. We don't want to have it. We don't have a discussion, but you read all and you see everything else. Nobody could have done that. Nobody has our weapons. Nobody has the quality of our weapons. The problem is we don't produce them fast enough. We're going to start producing them much faster. We're going to be very tough on the companies. We have the best weapons in the world, but it takes too long to get them, including allies. When allies want to buy them, they have to wait 4 years for a plane, 5 years for a helicopter. We're not letting that happen anymore. We're telling our defense contractors, you're going to start building faster. Guy makes... I have a big problem with it. I'm the king. I have sold more Boeings than any human being on earth. They gave me an award, Salesman of the Year. I said, what about Salesman in the history of Boeing? I've sold more Boeing planes than any man in history by far, probably over 1,000. Over 1,000 planes. I said, that's the good news. But why should they wait 3-4 years to get a plane? They should build them, get them immediately. The F-35s, it takes too long to get them. The Apache helicopter. I had India coming to me, sir, I've been waiting 5 years. We're changing it. We're changing it. India ordered 68 Apaches, and Prime Minister Modi came to see me. Sir, may I see you, please? Yes. I have a very good relationship with him. He's not that happy with me because, they're paying a lot of tariffs now because they're not doing the oil, but they are. They've now reduced it very substantially, as you know, from Russia. We're getting rich because of tariffs, by the way. I hope everyone understands that. They hate to report. We're going to have over $650 billion poured into our country or coming in shortly because of tariffs. They're finding all of these pockets of money. A couple of weeks ago, sir, we're off by $39 billion. Oh, is that good or bad? Meaning, do we have it or are we short of it? Sir, it's $39 billion that we can't account for. That means we have an extra 39. Yes, sir. I said, well, what are you saying? We just don't know where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. Sir, that tariff doesn't start until September. I said, no. It started about a month and a half ago. Check it. Comes back 25 minutes later. Sir, you were right. It came from tariffs. This never happened to us before, where we find plus 39 billion, not million, plus 39 billion. They were missing. We've taken in $650 billion or shortcoming, and that's because I'm being nice. If I want to be, and we have national security because of tariffs. And frankly, we have a big Supreme Court case. I hope they do what's good for our country. I hope they do the right thing. The president has to be able to wheel and deal with tariffs. Now, if you have the right president, it's good. You have the wrong president, if you have the wrong president, nothing's good. Tariffs are the least of your problems. We found that out for 4 years. We had the worst president, did the worst job. They had the worst policy. We have to even run against these people. Now, I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election because the fake news will say, he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. Nobody's worse than Obama. And the people that surrounded Biden, not Biden, I don't think it was Biden. He didn't know what the hell was going on, okay? The election was rigged. He had no idea what happened. He still doesn't. The auto pen. And by the way, you ought to make a big deal out of the auto pen. The auto pen was your president because most of the things were signed by auto pen. And you're not allowed to do that. I signed very little. Now I just sign everything because it's just so crazy. But, like I had the other day, we elevated a general to 4 stars. I think you should sign that. That's a big deal. A general did a great job, was elevated to 4 stars. And I had the general, and I signed it in front of him, held it up. You got to sign it. You can't give it to an auto pen. And you can always tell an auto pen. One thing, it has 2 little tiny dots. You know that? 2 little dots. You know what that's from? 2 pins. They go bing, bing. They're wonderful things. But you got to sign it. And the law is you have to sign it. If somebody's, telling the auto pen person, he has to be authorized by the president of the United States. Well, he wasn't. The guy barely knew the president. How many times did you speak to the president, right? He said 2. And they just spoke about the weather. It was like this. But he was never authorized to sign. And I think it's, what is it, 95% of the things were signed by AutoPen. You can tell because the AutoPen is a nice, clean signature, and his signature is a mess. The only thing he signed was, which is nice, was Hunter's pardon. That's the only thing that we could find that he signed. Most of it he didn't sign. So somebody's sending papers to sign, and he wasn't the president. First of all, the election was rigged. You ought to have voter ID. You ought to insist on it. You ought to insist on it. Can you imagine? In California, they not only don't have voter ID, but if an official at the voting booths, which they don't have, by the way, because it's all mail, if an official, a voting official, even asks somebody for voter ID, sir, would like to see your identification. Do you come from our country? They put him in jail for tampering with the election. Okay? We got to straighten this out before it gets too crazy. California is more corrupt than any place. California is more corrupt than Minnesota. And I won Minnesota. Well, Tom's going, I think so. Well, it's close. It can't be proportionately, probably nothing's more corrupt. Right? Yeah, right. He says you got to win. I'll tell you what, I did great there 3 times. I was surprised 3 times that those elections are corrupt. They got you 1 time too, but I heard a long time ago, but they got you. But they got to straighten those out. But we have to have voter ID. And you know, when you confront a Democrat about voter ID, like in a debate or something, I said it a couple of times with Biden, and they're very embarrassed when they say, we want voter ID, voter identification. The only reason somebody doesn't want that is because they want to cheat. Our elections are crooked as hell. And you can not only win elections over that, and not only win future elections, but you'll win every debate because the public is really angry about it. And you ought to pass the SAFE Act, or whatever you're going to call it. Are we going to SAVE Act or the Save America Act? I think we're going to change the name a little bit. You're going to put that up for a vote? I think everybody in this room certainly should do it. And it's a bad vote for them because they're voting against things like voter ID and other things that are almost equal to voter ID. But when somebody says, no, we don't want voter ID, that means they're crooked. And the public understands it. You win elections with that. But I think it would be really important, Save America Act, if you would put that up for a vote. It's got my total endorsement. And all it is common sense things about the election. And they'll fight it like crazy because they cheat. That's the only way they can win. When you have policy so bad, when you have policy with men and women's sports, and they fight like hell for it. They still are. I saw the other day a person that you know very well, a congressman, was fighting like hell. And, you know, I was out the other day with somebody, and I was with an ex-football player. The guy was massive. His leg was like this. And a young woman who plays flag football. And she's very good, supposedly, as an athlete. She's smaller than this guy's leg. Okay? And if they were playing football together, he wouldn't even have to run. He could just keep walking. They couldn't take him down. You know, he can't even believe it. But there's so many. They had a race, a long-distance race. They had champion men, women, you know, one of those marathon deals. The man finished 5 hours and 14 minutes and 36 seconds sooner. He beat the champion woman by 5 hours. It's so demeaning to women. It's so ridiculous, right? It's so ridiculous. The weightlifting, take a look at the weightlifting records. One record stood for 18 years, and it was broken by 112 pounds. They couldn't get 1/8 of an ounce, you know? They'd put an 1/8 of an ounce on. Then she's going to break the record for her mom, who's sitting in the front with her father. I'm going to break it. And she's out there. We're adding 1/8 of an ounce to each side. This record has stood, ladies and gentlemen, for 18 years. But she's going to do it. She's looking to get into the Olympics, right? And she gets up and They put a little tiny thing like this, little tiny. And my wife, by the way, my wife hates when I do this. She said, she's a very classy person, right? She said, it's so unpresidential. I said, but I did become president. She hates when I dance. I said, everybody wants me to dance. Darling, it's not presidential. She actually said, could you imagine FDR dancing? She said that to me. And I said, there's a long history that perhaps she doesn't know. Because he was an elegant fellow, even as a Democrat, right? He was the attack by Japan, he was quite elegant, but he wouldn't be doing this. But nor would too many others. But she says, darling, please, the weightlifting is terrible. And I have to say this, the dancing they really like. She said, they don't like it, they're just being nice to you. I said, that's not right. The place goes crazy. They're screaming, dance, please. But the weightlifting, but no, the girl gets up. And you see, I want to be more, but I have somebody watching. I want to be more effusive. Drops the thing, walks off the stage crying. Her mother's crying, her father's crying. Guy gets up. He said, have you lifted before? A little bit. And he walks up. Bing. He could have gone ding, 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 ding. I think it was 112 pounds. Huh? It's crazy. Or the beautiful boxer. They have boxing now. And that they have a young gentleman who transitioned. He was a very good boxer, but he wanted to be a woman, which is, to each his own.
He's on fire. Bro's on fire. Yes.
Liberal when it comes to these subjects. I'm trying to get that vote. It's not an easy vote to get. It's very tough for me to get it. But he transitioned, and he transitioned. And the girl was a champion boxer from Italy, remember? She got up, first round. He hit her, boom, with a left. A left, for those, everybody here knows about. But a left, Lisa knows better than anybody. But a left is defense. He goes, boom. She's like, oh my. She walked to the corner, remember? She didn't go down, but she did everything else. But she said, I've never been hit like that before. I don't want to go out again. You can do it. You can do it. Bang. She walked off. She said, he happened to win the gold medal, that young woman. He won the gold medal. There were two transition people. They both won gold medals. The whole thing is ridiculous. You have policy on your side. They don't have policy on your side. Right? You have policy. And I saw this guy fighting like hell. The swimming records is ridiculous when you look at the swimming, any records. It's crazy. And it's so demeaning to women. Women are the, and for a long time, they refused to talk about it. They were embarrassed to talk about it. Now they do talk about it. They talk about it openly, but they have the worst policy on everything, open borders. We want open borders. They still want an open border. We did the greatest job ever on borders. And, I think they forgot it. My guy said to me today, I have a great guy, Ross. He's the greatest speechwriter. He said, sir, let's not mention the border. Nobody cares about the border anymore. Can you believe it? This was the biggest, this was the biggest thing there was. It says to me, nobody cares about the border because it has a shelf life. I fixed the border. I fixed it in my first term, but now I really had to fix it. It was much worse, when I came into office. Millions and millions of people were pouring into our country. And I fixed it. And my guy, who's incredible, says, people don't want to hear it, sir. You've done that. The problem is people forget that I did it. They totally forget. They were talking about the other day, we don't like Donald Trump on this. We don't like Donald Trump on that. And somebody just out of the blue said, well, he did an unbelievable job. Who cares about that? They're saying, that's been done. What do we do about that, Mike? Everything you do, it's almost like, what have you done lately is the way you have to run your life. In other words, I could have the most unbelievable 4 years, and I guess they're not. I'm not allowed to run. I'm not sure. Is there a little something out there that I'm not allowed to run? But let's assume I was allowed to run. I could have. There's going to be a constitutional movement. No, I could have the most unbelievable 4 years. Everything was great, but in the last week, I made a little slip up in something, and you lose the election. It's like, so we can't let them forget that we did such a great job on the border. By the way, Venezuela, everyone, they're marching in the streets. They love it, except in New York. I mean, where they find these people? These people, they're not like these.
It is, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, something happened to the live feed. We are switching the feed right now. 1 second.
Where do they find these people?
Now we're back up.
They're the worst looking people I've ever seen. They really.
We apologize.
They got hats that are all frayed and all.
We are live.
Looks like they're all paid. They don't even know what they're talking. When the reporters don't interview them because they know that it's, the press is so anti. It's hard to believe the press can be so anti because it's all common sense. It's not, we're conservative, whatever. Doesn't matter. We're all common sense people. It's not even conservative. It's common sense. But the press has no credibility whatsoever. Think of it. I got 97% bad stories on one network, 93% on the other, and I won in a landslide. You know what that means? The press has no credibility. That's all it means. And we got to keep it that way. So I don't talk too much about the swimming, the weightlifting, the boxing. I don't talk about it. You know why? I want to start bringing it up about a week before the election because I don't want them to correct themselves. I don't want them to say, we've decided that we don't want to have men playing in women's sports. That'd be a devastating blow for us. Because that's, they say it's an 80-20. No. It's about a 98-2 issue. We've decided that we will not have open borders where the entire world, from the Congo, prisons from the Congo, these are extraordinarily tough people. These are people that make our motorcycle gangs look like fine young men. Okay? Our motorcycle gangs are wonderful people by comparison. No, they come in from prisons in the Congo. They come in from prisons from all over the world, but in particular, Venezuela. Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua comes in, and Tren de Aragua, they say it's the worst gang in the world. It makes our gangs look like little sweethearts. It makes our gangs, you want to take them out to dinner. They're so nice. They cut off the fingers of people. One guy makes a phone call in Colorado. The governor stinks in Colorado. He's no control. So Tren de Aragua, they don't want to do anything about it. So ICE has to go in and take them out because the governor doesn't want to do anything. But they make a phone call. They've taken over my building. The landlord's calling. They took over his building. So the governor doesn't want to do anything. But he calls the police, the guy. They come in. Did you call the police? This is Tren de Aragua. We're talking to the man that owns the building. Did you call the police? Yeah. Boom, they cut off his fingers. If you call him again, the next time your hand comes off. You believe it? The guy's walking around, his fingers were cut off. And these are the animals that we're throwing the hell out of here. Washington, D.C. is now the safest city in the country. And you people know that better than anybody because you were, think of it. You're in Congress, you're respected people. You're afraid to walk outside. Washington, D.C. Now, we had a terror attack 4 weeks ago. And one person's looking down from heaven and the other one is actually recuperating and going to make it, I think, but really badly hurt, Most positive mother I've ever. No, my son's going to be fine, sir. The mother was telling me that the night of the attack, I went just like I went to you. I spoke to this incredible woman. Sir, everyone's praying for my son. He's going to be fine. The doctors thought she was, just hoping against hope. There was no chance. And 2 weeks ago, he got up and started walking around. It's amazing, actually. So maybe some really bad. It looks like he could be okay. He's going to have pretty bad after effects. But that was a terrorist attack on people that are doing a great job. And it could have been anywhere. But we haven't had a murder. We would have on average, 2 murders a week in Washington. I don't even like talking about it. Two murders a week in Washington D.C. We haven't had one in 7 months. People can walk out now. You can walk down with your wife down to the restaurants, which are booming, by the way. I mean, if you go back to before I got in, and we did a pretty good job 4 years ago, but it was never this, in my first term. So when we were during the first term, we were pretty good, but it wasn't like that big of an issue. It became a big issue because people were being mugged all over the place. We had a couple of people working in the White House that were killed. We had one guy waiting for his wife in a car. They said, "Get out of your car." He said, "Well, I'm waiting for my wife." They blew his head off. The wife is walking up to the car. Animals. And then they get angry when I say, "They're animals." Nancy Pelosi, "They're not animals. They're human beings." No, they're not. This is another thing. That's a 98-2 issue also. No, they're animals. And we've taken them out. We've took out over 2,000 people, brought them back to their countries from where they came, or they're in prison now in Washington. Because it's not just like you have to take the bad ones out. 2%, 3% of the population causes 90% of the crime. Think of it. 2% of the population in Washington, D.C. causes 90% of the crime. So when you get rid of the 2%, we took out over 2,000 people, got them out of the country or in prison. Some were so bad that we didn't want to send them back to their countries because they'll come back in, even though it's hard now, but they're pretty smart. They're sick, but they're smart. But you're now living in one of the safest cities in the country. It's a great thing. You can walk to the restaurants. Restaurants are booming. New restaurants are open. They were all closing. You wouldn't have had a restaurant. And I don't know about you, but to me, those soldiers standing there look so good. I'm not going to feel safe walking down the street without them. I don't think you would either. Even though, we took out so many criminals, I just feel better. To me, they're beautiful. I look at these soldiers and you feel safe. You feel safe. I don't think if we took them out, even if the crime wasn't much, it would definitely be more. We did a great job in Chicago. They don't want to talk about it. We, against all this slob of a governor, this stupid slob, who's the family threw him out of the business. He was a dope, and the Pritzker family, but they threw him out of the business. And the mayor, he's a low IQ person, extremely low IQ. We should give everybody like these competency tests, right? The cognitive, they call it cognitive. I'm the only president that went for cognitives. I think every president and vice president should be forced to take cognitive exams, mental tests, like, are they intelligent? Wouldn't it be nice? Do you think Walz could pass a cognitive test, as an example? Do you think Kamala could? I don't think Gavin could. He's got a good line of crap, but other than that, he couldn't pass. I mean, here's a guy who didn't want to have water coming down from the Pacific Northwest. Why? They have a little tiny fish, this big, it's a little tiny fish, not doing well. You know why? No water. They're sending water. It's too much. It's killing the fish. So they cut it off. And then they have 25,000 houses burned down. They don't know why. No, I think, I believe in it. I'm the only one that took a cognitive test. I do, it's the worst. If I don't do a medical exam, because I've had times where I went longer, because I'm busy. If I don't do a medical exam, they say, Trump's not doing an exam. There must be something wrong with him. If I do the exam, they say, why did he do this? Why did he do this part of an exam? He did too much. There's something wrong with him. Do you remember there was a period, Mike, where I had 32 days in a row. I did one press conference, 2, 3, sometimes 4. I do them behind the desk. Just do it. I do press conferences. But I do many press conferences. So in 32 days, and then one day, just one day. This is 32 days in a row. Must be some kind of a crazy record. Then one day, do you remember I didn't do one? Because I took Kai, my very brilliant golfer, beautiful young lady who swings the club so beautifully. She's a great scratch golfer and loves playing. Grandpa, would you take me to play golf? So I ran, I play golf in like record. I play speed golf. It's better that way. You know the expression, miss it quick. No, I play speed golf, but I'm a good golfer. Everybody knows. Anybody that I've beaten in this group, but I love to play golf, but I don't get to play much. But I took off 2 hours, and the press couldn't find me, but they knew I was there because they follow me. And I was getting, are you okay? Guys are calling me up. Some of the guys in this room. Sir, are you okay? Yeah, what's the problem? There's a report, sir, that you're no longer with us. Remember that? No. The report was that I don't want to use the D word. It's such a horrible word. Dead. I don't like. There's a report, sir, that you're no longer with us. I said, well, I just hit a 280-yard drive. This isn't bad. And, it's one of the, and it took me a couple of weeks to get that one straightened out. The new one is they did a report in the fake news New York Times where I worked this day from early in the morning till late in the evening, but we don't give out a full schedule. It's like who the hell wants to give out a schedule to these people? But it's all work. And this, in particular, this day was brutal. I never got to leave the seat. You couldn't do anything. It was just one after another after another. And this went on from early in the morning till late in the evening. And my people gave out a report. He had lunch. They show a report, lunch with somebody. And they did a story. Donald Trump is slowing down. He only had lunch. And then he went back up and they said, that's malfeasance, whoever did, right? No, it's terrible. I was actually more angry with my people than I was with the New York Times. But they wrote a story, and it takes you a period of time to recover from these hits. And it's almost no matter what you do, but you have to keep a positive eye. But we have a fake press. We did a thing that's so incredible on medicine that nobody has ever done it, reducing favored nations, most favored nations, we reduced the cost of medicine at levels that have never even been dreamt of before. We should win the elections on just that thing if we did nothing else and went home, go home. We did favored nations where we're bringing down the price of a pill. As an example, in London, the pill sells for $10. In New York, it sells for $130. That's 13 times as much. Most favored is I want to pay what the lowest nation in the world is paying. Everybody knew about it, but nobody had the guts or the stamina to do it or the respect from other nations, but I do. And then you also had to get the drug companies. The drug companies were not easy, but they were much easier compared to the other nations. So the other nations used to tell the drug companies, we're not going to pay more. You kept it for years, the same price. Everything, we just kept going up, up, up. And finally I had the drug companies and I said, listen, fellas, you can't do this. Can't do it anymore. I'm not going to let it. We're going to do it. And you're not going to do it. And I did things to them that were brutal, but I really found out it was the nations that were so tough. So when France was told that the pill will go from $10 to $30, it's a big increase, right? But it's not really. And that ours would come down from $12 or $13 down to $30. So theirs would go from 10 to 20 or 30. And ours would go from $13 down to, meaning $130 down to 20 or 30. So it's a huge drop for us. Now, depending on the way you calculate it, it could be thousands of percent down. It could also be 90% and 80%. You know, there's two ways of calculating. I don't know if you know. They said Donald Trump exaggerated. Now, there are two ways of calculating it. But calculate it at 80, 90%. But the other way is more accurate, like 900%, because that's what it really is. But there are two ways, but use to be generous, 90%. There hasn't been a reduction in 28 years, except for the 1 year where I got it down 1/4%, and I had a news conference. I was so proud of myself. The drug prices, prescription drugs are going to be down by thousands of points thousands. On that one item, you should win this election. The New York Times barely wrote about it. The other papers barely wrote about it. Nobody even knows that the drug prices. Now, people will say, you don't mind if I don't read this crazy teleprompter, do you? Because, do you mind? Because I have, it's called standard. But these things are so important because you guys got to get elected. Because if you don't get elected, we have a country that's going to go to hell. So we can't play games. Ladies and gentlemen, the sun will rise tomorrow, and when it rises, we don't need this bullshit. We need to talk about favored nations. And your numbers are coming down at levels that nobody's ever seen. We inherited high prices. We inherited a mess. We inherited the greatest inflation in history. And you know what was knocking it down? The bad economy that we inherited. We inherited bad. We now have the hottest economy in the history of our country. We have $18 trillion being invested in the United States. You have, every one of you have car plants, AI plants, plants of all different types. Because of tariffs. I hope we get the good ruling from the Supreme Court. I only hope we do, because it's given us tremendous national security. So let me just finish up, because I weave. I love to weave. If you ever weave and don't come back to the point, then that's a problem. Then you say, but when you weave and you go here and boom, 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 always coming back, then you're in good shape. But what's happening is, by doing what I did, we're getting numbers that are so low. But what did I do to the countries? I said, France, your healthcare for prescription drugs is going to go up triple. It's going from $10 a pill, just as an example. I called it the fat drug. You could say the fat drug, Ozempic. Ozempic is $80 in London, and it's $1,300 in New York, the fat drug. A friend of mine called me up. He said, what the hell is going on? A very rich guy, but I said, the fat drug doesn't work on you. Why are you even taking it? The drug has failed miserably, but he's a very loud, boisterous. He's not a bad guy, not a great guy, smart as hell, but he's a very rich guy. This drug, he could have paid millions for it. It wouldn't have mattered. But he said, in London, I'm paying $80. In New York, I'm paying like many times more than that. What the hell is that? That's because of what's happened, because the nations held us back. So the drug companies, I made a deal with them. You're going to do it? They said, whatever the nations agreed to. The nations were a bigger problem than the drug companies. So I said, you tell me they'll never agree, sir. I said, 100% they will. 100%. They said, sir, the smartest guys, Eli Lilly, Merck, Pfizer, all genius. They're all making numbers you wouldn't believe. Defense contractors are making more. That's why I'm going to say, you're making $45 million a year and you can't produce a freaking helicopter for 7 years. We're going to talk to them about that. But I said to the France, I called up as an example, France, just as an example. I like him. He's a nice guy. Emmanuel. You know Emmanuel Macron. I love the French accent. Emmanuel. They said, listen, you're going to have to raise your prices a little bit because we're paying 14 times more than you. That's a lot, right? We're paying numbers. In other words, we're making up for all of this deficit. No. Donald, I will not be able to. Mr. President, please excuse me. Most of the people call me Mr. President, except for people that don't respect me. They call me Don, which are probably a lot of them too. But they said, no. Putin calls me Mr. President. She calls me Mr. President. Emmanuel goes, no. We will not do that. Yes, you will, Emmanuel, 100%, because I was told they wouldn't do it. And this is, you can take Emmanuel and add up Hans, you can add up Ludwig, you can add every name in the book. It's all the same. The answer is no. We're not going to double our drug prices. Not for you or anybody else. I said, yes, you are, 100%. We are not going to do it. No, you don't understand. 100%. You're going to do it and you're going to like it. They go, I don't understand. I've told you 5 times, why do you keep saying you're going to do it? Because I'm always right about, Trump is right about everything, right? I said, the hat. Trump is right about it. I have been right about everything. Got to keep it going. Is there wood up here? Hold it. I always like to, just in case. Trump was right about everything. And I said, so you're going to do it, Emmanuel? No, I'm not. I said, okay, here's the story, Emmanuel. If on Monday you haven't agreed to every single thing that we want, I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything coming out of France, including your wines, your champagnes, and everything else. No, you cannot do that. I said, I can do that, and I will do that. Even for national security, I'll do that, but this is for medical security, and 100%. Now, let me explain. The tariff I'm imposing on you is 42 times more expensive than what I'm asking for you in return. So you can either have a 25% tariff added on to you, like I did with China on fentanyl. I put a 20% penalty tax on China, and it's drying up because the tax is far more than they make with fentanyl. But with the other nations, I said, you're going to do it. And you know what he said? You can't do that to me. I said, yes, I can. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be that bad. You just have to explain it to your people, your 39 million people, that, by the way, don't vote by mail. They vote on paper ballots. They tried voting by mail, and there was fraud all over the country. We're the only country that votes by mail, essentially. You know that, right? You know, Speaker, that's another thing. We're the only country that's stupid enough to vote by mail. Even Jimmy Carter's commission said, don't do it. But just to finish so that you won't say he wanders. Emmanuel said to me, Donald, you have a deal. I would love to increase my prescription drug prices by 200% or whatever. I would love to do it. It'd be such an honor. Whatever you want, Donald, please. Don't tell the population. Please, Donald, I beg you. Every country said the same thing. No, we will not do this. Some were strong, some were very nice, some were rude. But they all said one thing, no, we won't. And within, I'd say on average, 3.2 minutes, they were all saying, we would be honored to quadruple our drug prices. So we would be honored to quadruple our prices if that's what you like. We want to make you happy. Okay. Therefore, I will not charge you a tariff, and you're going to increase your drug prices by 3 times what they were paying 2 days ago, right? And we have now favored nation. You think Biden could do that? I don't think so. Think Biden ever thought of it? Now, everybody's wanted favored nations, but everybody knew it was impossible to get the countries to agree to it because they wouldn't have done. And they've been doing this for 40 years or whatever it is. We were subsidizing the entire world. That's just one of the many things we're giving. But you should take that thing. That's going to save. Now, that also, when you add that to healthcare, your drug prices are much lower than what you projected. So we're going to reduce healthcare by a lot. One other thing on healthcare, it's never been our issue. It should be our issue. We had a very nasty vote from a couple of people. I guess Collins, I guess Lisa Murkowski, and I guess a man named John McCain. Remember? Thumbs down. You remember. He said, I'm all for 10 years he campaigned. I don't want to be nasty, but for 10 years he campaigned on Obamacare. We're going to destroy Obamacare. We're not going to do it. And then we're going to terminate it. And then it was a little surprising. We could have had health care, good health care. Obamacare is bad. And the people understand it's bad. And the premiums are horrible. But one thing I've learned a lot about healthcare. I found healthcare sort of like not of tremendous interest, but it was very important. And I made it of tremendous interest. So I made a statement a couple of months ago because I saw the numbers. I said, boy, because, you know, I like to see what's going on. That's one of the reasons. By the way, we set an all-time record again today. We have the highest stock market in the history of our country by far, every single month. That's another thing you should camp. You know, they like to demean that. You know what the Democrats, well, that doesn't mean anything. That's just, no. That means jobs and it means 401ks because a lot of people have 401ks and they have, hello, best lawyer in the room, the best, have 401ks and they have 401ks. Like I had a young policeman. I told this story twice, but it was the same thing. This was a recent case. I had a case years ago because I had a great economy. You know, we had the greatest economy in history during my first term. My first term was a tremendous success. But again, nobody wants to talk about that. We rebuilt our military. We did things that nobody could have done. We did a great job. This term is blowing it away. It's blowing every term. There's never been a president that had a year like this, especially a starting year. And we should win based on that too, all things. But the 401k, so there's a policeman and he comes up and he was guarding me along with lots of other people. Sir, I want to thank you. What? My wife thinks I am the worst investor in the world. And for the last year, she thinks now I'm Warren Buffett. She said, you're smarter than Warren Buffett. You're a better investor than Mr. Warren Buffett, sir. I said, how's your 401k? It's doubled. It's going up. It's going up. I said, just relax. But 401ks are through the roof. Those are us. Those are the people. We have the highest stock market in history. 47 days out of 11 months. We have just a piece of the last month left for the first year. 47 days out of 11 months, we hit a new record. Well, we hit one last night. We hit another one today, I understand. But we hit one last night, a new record, brand new record. All exchanges, not just, Dow. Dow was up, but all of them. We have another record, that's the 47th time in 11 months that we've hit an all-time high. And the future, because we have more money coming into our country than any country has ever had by far. The record was about $3 trillion many years ago by China. We've got $18 trillion pouring into our country. You know why? Because of tariffs. Because if they build a factory, they don't have to pay any tariff. But if they make it in another country and they send it in, they have a very big tariff to pay. So they can't pay that tariff. So what they do is they come in and they're building. By the way, this is what China did to us for many years. It's just reversing it. Other than we have a great product. We were losing our product now. Tell you what, if I had lost this election, if you had Kamala, it's the same thing, Joe and Kamala, I call them equals. If you had Kamala come in, I believe that our country would have been Venezuela on steroids. I used to say that during the campaign. If I don't win, we're going to have Venezuela. So we have 18 trillion coming in. I think we could hit 20 trillion by the time the year is up, right? It's less than 1 year, 18 trillion. The record is $3 trillion. $3 trillion is a lot of money. 18 trillion is not even thinkable. That's all investment. That's building factories. That's building plants. You know how many car factories we have? Half of you guys are having car factories. Where you are, Louisiana is doing great. Georgia, right next to you, is doing great. Hello, nice guy. All nice people. Actually, in this room, I can't see it. Is there anybody I'm supposed to dislike in this room? I think that a couple of people maybe didn't show up. There's only one that I really dislike. I mean, the same person that Mike gave up on, because there's something wrong with him. He's a sick person. But there's only one really. The others, you just have to understand them. They have some problems too, but you just have to sort of go with them and understand them, feel sorry for them, advise their family, are they okay? Because what we're doing is right. But $18 trillion, car plants being built. I was in Japan. Somebody admonished me. He shouldn't be traveling. I don't like to travel. But when I travel, I make a lot of money for the country, not for me. For me, I don't care. I have a much higher purpose. I have plenty of money. I don't need money. I don't want money. I want to make money for the country. And like I did with Intel, Intel came in. They had a problem. I said, I can solve the problem, but I think you should give the United States 10% of your company. He goes, whoa. I said, yeah, I think I can help you with the problem, but you got to give the United States, not me. Sometimes I'll say, give me. But when I say me, I'm talking about, I'd love to accept it, but I don't think that law enforcement would like that, right? I'm very cognizant of law enforcement, perhaps more than anybody in history. Actually, a friend of mine who's really smart said, you know, you've got to be the most honest guy in history because you have been examined, your books, your records. I have a big business. Every record, I had these Democrats hired the biggest accounting firms, the biggest law firms, the biggest. I went through years of abuse. And here I am. They didn't find anything wrong. Remember? We want his tax returns for years. We want his. Finally, the Supreme Court, shockingly, I'm the only one. This couldn't happen to anybody else. You have to give your tax returns, right? I gave my tax returns. They're from here to here. It's a big business. It's a great business. And I built a great business, like much bigger and better than anyone even understands. But I gave my tax returns. They go from here to the ceiling practically. They got them. Headline, Trump to give tax returns. Supreme Court ruled that to give my tax return. Can you believe it? Everyone said, you're not supposed to do that. And by fighting, they think you're trying to hide something. You know, naturally. I gave my tax returns. That's the last we ever heard. They hired the biggest accounting firm in the world, most powerful lawyers in the world. They spent millions and millions of dollars going over those returns. There hasn't been one story that I did anything wrong. So this friend of mine who's highly sophisticated, rich guy, smart guy, said there's nobody that I know that could have gone through an examination like that and not ended up in prison. Nobody ever had to suffer like I did. Nobody ever did that to anybody else. You know, there was an expression, Andrew Jackson was the most abused president in the history of the United States. You know who second was? This before me. You know who second was? Abraham Lincoln. But he had a civil war, so we have to give him a pass. But Andrew Jackson was treated horribly. He was a great general and a good president. So bad that his wife died. I mean, his wife died. They were horrible. But I just saw a report came out the other day. I blow them away. He never got impeached twice. I got impeached twice on nothing. On a perfect phone call, remember? Perfect phone call. Tim Scott, who's a great guy, great, wonderful guy, South Carolina, straight guy, right? He is a good guy, good person. He's an honest person. He read a transcript. Thank goodness I had a transcript. Essentially, the call was taped because they tape calls. I didn't even know. So was that call taped? Yes, sir. I said, oh, well, bring it down. I don't even know. And we read the transcript. It was perfect. It was so good. I told Ukraine not to cheat. And if you see any cheating, report it to the Attorney General of the United States. That was my call. They said, he was trying to intimidate. All I said is don't cheat. And we have a signed agreement that Ukraine can't cheat. You know that. It's the only country we have actually signed. They violated the agreement many times, I would tell you. You'll find out. I was right about that too. But nobody's gotten treated. But this guy said to me, for you to have escaped. But the one thing, and I'll just end it, because Jim Jordan back there, world champion wrestler, 128-1. Whatever happened to the one guy? The Russian. He lost to, how dare you lose to a Russian? Do you know the more impressive record for Jim? Because I'm a big sports person. I love sports. Jim went to high school. As in high school, he was considered like the top wrestler. But he was undefeated in high school. Now, what that means is that as a freshman, he was beating seniors. Is that true? Were you actually undefeated? Seriously, were you undefeated in high school? That means as a freshman, he had to beat seniors, Steve. Nobody could, because there's such a difference between a freshman and a senior. To me, that's more impressive than anything. But I'm also impressed with his fight. Now we have to close the deal, Jim. We got to close the deal. Close that deal. But the right. So, I respect. I saw Jim, and the first time I met Jim, I looked at him and I said, tough looking guy. But I noticed the ears, they were a little rough. They were a little bit of a rough. Some people would say a little cauliflower on that ear. They said, Jim, have you wrestled before? Yes, I did. Where? Was it Ohio State? Something like, he was an All-American at Ohio State. I said, yeah, I could sort of tell. I look at the ears and I can sort of tell. But have you had plastic surgery on your ears, Jim, now? Because they look better now than they did the first time. They've healed over the years. They've healed. Actually, now you're wrestling with probably much tougher people, the radical left lunatics, right? But anyway, so I just want to leave it by this. I want to say that you are great people. We have all of the policy. We have wonderful, just stay together. We got a few people that make life very difficult. They don't have that. I used to say they don't have a Mitt Romney in their midst. I mean, Mitt Romney was very difficult. he was almost like, for them, it was on the Senate side. But we have a couple of people that are really bad. I mean, they're bad, but maybe they'll straighten out. Maybe somebody in the room can sit them down and straighten them out, because what we're doing is the right thing for the country. We're not Republican or Democrat. We're doing the right thing for the country. If you look at what we're trying to solve the healthcare problem. We're trying to get better healthcare at a lower price. I mean, that's a good thing, right? And the one thing I learned, and just in concluding, and I said it like a month and a half ago, and it was the number one thing in the country. Even the fake news covered it. They tried to put a negative spin on it, of course. I said, I read a story about insurance companies making a fortune. A fortune. Their stocks were up 1,700%. Who invested recently in a stock that's up 17? And that's because the money that they're getting from Obamacare is massive. And the government generally. That means they're making a fortune. And as soon as that, because I have a natural, I don't want to say it again, but I have a natural business instinct. I do. I've always done things. I've done some things that people said you're crazy and I made a lot of money with. I've done a lot of things that were good. I have an instinct, right? Somebody said, he's got the best political instincts of any politician in 150 years. I said, no, I don't. I really don't believe I do. I think I have good instincts. I have common sense. But they said that it was a very complimentary statement, but I don't believe that's necessarily right. But I do have good policy. I have good common sense. And maybe they wheeled that into instincts. And I did become president. So it can't be that bad. And I never did it before. Don't forget, I ran for president. I had a politician telling me very strongly, they said, sir, I've run for office 20 times and I've won 17. And I know what I'm talking about. This was at the very beginning of my first time. I said, well, I've only run once and I won, but I won for president. He said, you got me on that one. He's actually sitting in this room right now, that son of a gun. He knows who I'm talking about. He was giving me a hard time, but he's turned out to be a decent person. Not the best in the room, but a decent person. He's not my favorite in the room, but he's decent. But we have one thing that's really strong. Uh-oh, it's a fake news. Pulitzer Prize, right, Doug? Pulitzer Prize. He got one for the bullet. He had the bullet, but he got how many Pulitzer Prizes? 3 Pulitzer Prizes, and all talented guys. These are great guys. I don't like the people back there as well. These are the ones that take the pictures. Make me look thin for a change, Doug. You're making me look a little bit heavy. I'm not happy about it. But one thing I did see and find out in the last 2 months, when you tell the people that we want the money to be paid to the people so the people can buy their own health insurance and health care, it's like, and I just said it, and I said it because I read a story on the front page of a certain paper that I don't even mention because it's so stupid paper, it's so bad, it's gone so far off the Wall Street Journal, I don't mention it. I refuse to tell you which. I refuse to tell you that it's the Wall Street Journal. They've lost their way. This is not the Wall Street Journal of old. But I read a story on the Wall Street Journal, and it said that the insurance companies are making so much money. They weren't demeaning them or anything, and I guess as an investor, you're happy. When I read that, I said, wait a minute, they're making that kind of money, and they're making it because of stupid politicians, I hate to say, that we allow them to make it. If you guys can get in a room, because, we don't have that as one of our issues. It's the only thing they have. They're lousy at it. They came up with Obamacare. We tried to fight it. We almost had it won, but we didn't get 3 votes. We should have gotten them. But here's, you want to turn this thing, you work on favored nations, you work on borders, you work on all of the things that we talked about, but now you take the healthcare issue away from them, and they want to fight it. You know why? They're all owned by the insurance companies, and they cannot fight it successfully. There's nothing they can do. That's like almost the voter ID thing. When they try and fight, I watched a guy trying to explain why we shouldn't have voter ID the other day, and the guy was a fool. He looked like an idiot. This is the same kind of an issue. Let the money go in the healthcare account or however you do it. Let the money go directly to the people. Now, you have to be a little flexible on Hyde. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something. You got to use ingenuity. You got to work. We're all big fans of everything, but you got to be flexible. You have to have flexibility. I came out with a statement. Let the money go not to the big fat cats and the insurance companies that made 1,700% over the last short period of time. Let the money go directly to the people where they can buy their own health care. And I'm not sure that I've ever said anything that was more impactful. I say a lot of things and have a lot of good ideas. And this was an idea that, the whole world went crazy. The whole country went crazy. The world went crazy with envy. If you can somehow do that, Mr. Speaker, Tom, all of you, Steve, if you can do that, this is going to be your issue. And the other thing is fertilization. They're trying to hit us on fertilization. They were dead on fertilization when I got a call from a very wonderful young senator from Alabama saying they had just lost a case. And the case, I've never been met with such scorn. Friends of hers were just going crazy. And I said, explain the issue to me. And it was on IVF, the fertilization. A judge ruled against and said all fertilization places have to be closed down like immediately. It would have been a disaster. And fortunately, I picked it up and we owned the issue. But now I understand they're trying to make a case on fertilization. You can't let them do that. Very important issue. All of these issues are very important issues. But you can own healthcare. Figure it out. Let the money go directly to the people. It goes in a healthcare account. There are numerous things you can do, but you have to let no money for the insurance companies. I'm going to meet with the insurance companies. I said, I'm going to meet with them because I met with the prescription drug companies. And that's when I found out what was going on with the fact that we were paying 10 and 13 and 14 times more money than Europe and other places. I learned that at the meeting. Now I'm going to meet with them in a few days. I'm meeting with them all, 14 companies. I'm meeting with them all. I'm also meeting with oil companies. Let's go. You know what that's about. We got a lot of oil to drill, which is going to bring down oil prices even further. But if you can come up with health care, remember this, where the money goes to the people, you have just owned, they can't fight it. They're owned by the insurance companies. You guys don't get money from the insurance companies. They do. They get a massive amount of money. It's their biggest donor. They're going to try and fight you, but they can't win the fight. If you explain it, the money goes directly to the people. That's going to be your issue. The other thing is energy. Your energy prices have come so far down since I'm president. And nobody wants to, I saw on television, energy prices are down 3%. No, they're not down 3%. They were $3.50 and $4. It's now $1.99 a gallon in many stations, and it's going down further. And that's like a massive tax cut. And that's the other thing, tax cuts. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Now think of this, no tax on tips, no tax for seniors on Social Security, no tax on overtime. You're allowed to deduct if you buy a car and you take out a loan on the car. For the first time ever, middle income people, all people can deduct, but they never got a deduction before like this. It's only for rich people. They got them. They have so many deductions. You're allowed to deduct the interest against your taxes. Nobody thought it was possible. It's going to be phenomenal for the car companies, but it's even more phenomenal for the people. It's like getting it's like paying half for the car. All of these things, you have so much ammunition. All you have to do is sell it. Taxes. But the one thing they know about the taxes, I call it the great big beautiful bill. I think it's even better. But the great big beautiful bill is just that. There are so many goodies in the bill, you have to get the word out because the people in the back of the room won't do it. That's why I love live television. Because they can't, sometimes they'll turn the camera off, but they're embarrassed when they do that. If we're going too strong and doing too well, if the lights go off, you're doing well. If the lights are on, you got yourself a problem, okay? I see that little red light. That light goes on. If that light, that's bad, isn't it? If that light goes off, you know that you're doing a good job because you're fighting the Democrats and you're fighting the fake news. And it's amazing that they can be so stupid and they don't have credibility anymore and you can beat them. I mean, it's the old thing that, never fight the news, but you have no choice because it's almost like they become radicalized. But you are fighting the news, but you can beat them. That's why I'm standing here. I mean, I had Kamala. I was beating Joe by 30 points. And then they changed him. That's like a fighter in the ring. He's losing. And they said, let's put somebody else in to take his place. Very unfair. They changed in the middle of the election. They said, he's going to lose, so let's give somebody else. And fortunately, she was just as bad as him. Probably slightly. I don't know. Would you say as bad or worse? Close. Pretty close. But it took 6 weeks. There was a honeymoon period. 6 weeks. It took 6 weeks to find out that she didn't have what it takes. But you got to win the midterms because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner than we are. We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things. They are mean and smart. But fortunately for you, they have horrible policy. They can be smart as can be, but when they want open borders, when they want, as I said, men and women's sports, when they want transgender for everyone, bring your kids in, we're going to change the sex of your child. Just send them our way. In some cases, like in Minnesota, they don't even tell the parents. Is that right? And nobody believes it when I say it. I think we have 6 states. Nobody, am I correct? Okay, Tom Emmer said yes, but it's true. Where the kid comes back, they keep the kid. They operate on the kid. They don't tell the parents. It's not believable. We have great, solid common sense policy. They have horrendous policy. What they do is they stick together. They never have a no vote. They impeached me. I never knew I was going to be impeached. I get a phone call. You just got impeached. I said, what does that mean? It took them 10 minutes. They impeached the president who did a damn good job. I rebuilt our military, Space Force. I got everything. I did a lot. They impeached me for nothing, twice for nothing. Fortunately, you were on our side and we were unanimous. And the second time, the few people in this little group, like Rice and this, they're all gone. Every one of them is gone, except one that we're going to sort of let ride with. some guy that has a state that you might as well just let him run. But think of it, everyone's gone. Everyone's gone. It makes me feel so good. I don't want to feel vicious, but I'm so happy that everyone. And they're seriously gone, too. They lost in landslides. This guy named Rice, he lost by 48 points, right? Remember him? Oh, no, there he is. What a job you did, Mr. Fry, Congressman Fry. I looked around for somebody. It's true. This was a good choice. We've made some bad choices, too, because you have to do it. I said, who the hell can run against this guy, Rice? It was a Trump plus 40 district. They had riots around his house that night. You know, he voted, I vote to impeach. And that night they had riots. So they said, who the hell? Just give me somebody. A warm body. And then, no, it has to be a living, breathing person. And then if I could get a genius, it would be good. And we got a guy who is so good. He's been, I think, are you happy with him? I think so. Stand up, Rob. He's great. I said, where does he come from? He's like a senator, state senator or something. I said, all right. I spoke to him one time. I said, you're accepted. But little did I realize how good he was. You did a great job. You've done a great job, and the people love him. So he has done a great job. I just want to say this. I haven't read one word on this thing. Who the hell else could do this? And I think I gave you something. It's just a roadmap, and it's a roadmap to victory. You have so many good nuggets. You have to use them. If you can sell them, we're going to win, because we've won 2 races in like 50 years. It's for whatever reason. I don't know why, but just don't fight it. It doesn't make sense. There've been 2, and they were unusual circumstances. So whether it's a Republican or Democrat, whoever wins the presidency, the other party wins the midterm. And it doesn't make sense, because we've had the most successful year probably in the history. They say, and now you add what happened essentially yesterday, we've had the most successful first year of any president in history. And it should be a positive, and make it a positive. So with that, I leave you. I do. And I started by saying I love you all, and I'll end by saying I love you. You're amazing people. What you do for this country is incredible. And thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. That was amazing. What is it? It is 11:35 a.m. We have been live with me speaking exactly 10 words for an hour and a half, 90 minutes. We've been live. That's fine. Welcome to the Benny Show. That was unbelievable, Trump. It's called the weave. It's the weave. You got to get back to the point. President Trump, Caroline Lovett saying, tune in this morning. We got bangers for you. You got the White House reaching out to us in the middle of all of this saying, get ready. We are going to be dropping some heaters today. We got so much going on. Let's start with California fraud, because we got to jump in. And then President Trump talking a lot about January 6th. We got to blast through the show here. We're going to have to make some cuts, make a few changes, but we got you locked in for the next 30 minutes. Let's just rock and roll. We are going to California next week. What are we going to be doing in California? A lot, actually. We're going to be doing a fraud investigation in California. California, based on all available data and based on the president's administration, which launched a California fraud investigation today on the DOJ, but then President Trump also posting on Truth Social about the fraud, please grab that asset, has inspired us to devote our significant resources on this program, significant because of you, to going and exposing this fraud. Now, this wouldn't be the first time that we've gone to California. We've gone to California 4, 5, 9 times. We got robbed in California. We've exposed the collapse of that society. We've exposed the collapse of what's happening throughout the state. And we've done it at scale. And it's worked. People want to track this, because what happens in California, the way that that state goes, is what the left has planned for all of us. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is what is inspiring us. Minnesota, obviously, they're getting gutted right now. Kristi Noem, for instance, is on the ground in Minnesota today. She's doing raids today in Minneapolis. So that story has been broken, and Nick Shirley did as good as any single individual can do. Nick Sotor, also a friend of the show, following up with the reporting there. So two Nicks, Nick squared, doing great work in Minnesota. We still want to do some work in Minnesota, but with Tim Walz's political career over, we don't feel the same level of urgency that we once did to get there. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. President Trump on California this morning. And then, Klein, you got to keep my tweet up, bro. We got to still read through the tweet. California under Governor Gavin Newsom is more corrupt than Minnesota, if that is possible. Fraud investigations in California have begun, and thank you for your attention to this matter. Was President Trump talking about our tweet sent at the exact same time, 8:20 this morning? I don't know. But I can tell you this. We are going to be going out there with some administration officials. We will be going out there with the, let's say the full weight and support of the federal taxpayer behind us, saying we are going to stop the fraud because it's all of our dollars. It's not just California dollars being wasted. So much of this money is federal money. It's your money that is being squandered in California. Some of the top line here. State auditor found $70 billion in taxpayer funds have been lost. That's the state auditor. That's a Democrat. This is a position that is elected and then staffed through the Democrat governor of California. So if it's $70 billion from the Democrats and they're saying they lost $70 billion, what's the real number? Well, $24 billion was spent on a non-existent homeless program in Los Angeles. $18 billion poured into a non-existent high-speed rail. Maybe we'll just go there. We should go to that location. What's stopping us from driving to that like 2 mile or 2 feet stretch of high-speed rail that they built? Let's do that, Killer Klein. Let's go there. $32 billion in COVID relief funds stolen. $2.5 billion lost in SNAP fraud. We got all of the friends in the federal government has these numbers. We know every head of every single agency, and we are going to rock and roll. And of course, billions have been spent rebuilding after the Palisades fire, but there's been no homes built. So what exactly are they doing? Ladies and gentlemen, our California tip line, fraud@BennyJohnson.com. Fraud@BennyJohnson.com. This post has been up for like an hour, 90 minutes. This post has been up, and we've already gotten thousands of emails, some of them from high-level state officials, politicians, members of Congress, and their staff. Fraud@BennyJohnson.com. We are going to go into the belly of the beast, and it's going to be biblical. And this is how we create a durable movement. This is what this channel is set up for. We have always done our role, our job, our responsibility in independent journalism as best as we possibly can. Last year, we exposed AOC and Jasmine Crockett. And now nobody can even talk about Jasmine Crockett without talking about her fake accent and where she actually comes from in St. Louis. It's been remarkable. It's been amazing to see what just a little bit of effort to tell a true story. And the truth shall set you free. And so that's what we're going to do in the state of California. God bless all of you. Thank you for supporting our show. Thank you for supporting our program. We will be out here fighting in these streets for you, taking the power of this channel and the power of this audience in making the country that we all wish to live in. This is how it's done, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so that's the top line news for the day. I mean, we have so much more to cover. President Trump talking a lot about January 6th, and more importantly, President Trump talking a little bit about what he's going to do to stiffen the spines of Republicans in 2026. Okay. Before we get to our two honored guests today, and we had quite a show booked out, and we've been very thankful for the patience. President Trump, you never know if he's going to go 90 minutes without like even reading a single word off his teleprompter, which he just did. It's remarkable. I got to tell you, it has been a wild new year for us. One of my challenges to myself in the new year is going to be to increase the amount of protein that I eat. My wife is a nurse, and she is very much locked in on ensuring that instead of snacking junk, I am eating protein. Paleo Valley helps me do that with beef jerky. Finally, beef jerky partner for the show. Man, this beef jerky that they have is incredible. Paleo Valley's a wellness brand that is locked in to get you the best on-the-go protein that you could possibly get. Sometimes you're like, what am I going to do? Sit down for a steak dinner? You can't do that. I don't even eat lunch in the studio. But now I have a stack of Paleo Valley beef sticks, 100% grass-fed American beef. And ladies and gentlemen, it's the healthiest beef product and beef jerky product out there. They're 100% grass-fed and finished. They're sourced in the U.S. by U.S. farmers that use rotational grazing practices, keto and paleo approved, organic spices, and fermented for gut health. And it contains no garbage, no extra chemicals, 0 carbs, and 0 sugars. That's what I need now after the holidays. And they come in 5 delicious flavors. So go ahead over to paleovalley.com/Benny. Use the code Benny at checkout for 15%. Your first purchase. That's paleovalley.com/Benny. Use code Benny at checkout. All right. Somebody who didn't need any help lifting a podium on January 6th was the great lectern man. And we are honored, actually, to have for the first time, I believe, on our program. Yeah, is that correct? Yes. For the first time on our program, Adam Johnson, otherwise known as Lectern Guy. Klein, do you have the famous photo? Do we not have the famous photo in the script? No? Do we not have the... Do we not have to... Not have it, there it is, right there. It's in the script, Klein. It's in the script, Klein. That's right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Lectern Man is here to honor January 6th with his, I guess, what we would call meme gold here. Something that has been turned into 100 million memes. And so, be it that it is January 6th, let's go talk to Lectern Guy. Adam, what's up, dude?
Hey, Benny, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, wait a second, why didn't we get like the top 50? Why don't we do a meme? Let's do a meme review. I am demanding right now. We are the only show that streams that has a full-time meme team. I want 50 memes of this that have been made, and including the one of Trump walking away with Venezuela, which I just saw that was going viral. And we'll do a live meme review, a live lectern meme review. Okay, so this day has significance to you, Adam. And you've also had quite a ride since grabbing the lectern there. Some people say it was Nancy Pelosi's lectern. Was it, in fact, Nancy Pelosi's lectern?
No, that is the People's Lectern. We paid for that. We built that. It is ours.
Yes. And you now build lecterns, actually, right?
I do. I built them for charity. The DOJ had a stipulation in my plea deal saying that I could not profit off of my crime for 5 years. So I got permission to build these little lecterns here. And we sold them on eBay. We auctioned them off, and we gave all of the proceeds to families who were wrongfully persecuted by the DOJ.
Oh, that's unbelievable. I need to go buy one. Goodness. And I think it'll make for a great... I think there's great room in the studio for a teeny little lectern. This may perhaps where I'll put my coffee every single morning. Okay, so tell me, you heard Donald Trump sitting there railing on Nancy Pelosi. This has got to warm your heart just a little bit today, because obviously the tides have turned. You've gotten a commutation or a pardon by the president. And this is something that, has been probably the most significant and drastic narrative shift over the last 5 years in American history, right?
That is absolutely correct. And I think that people are finally ready to hear the truth about this on the left and right. We came out of Fulton County a few weeks ago. I sent that to a couple of my friends who were liberals who basically wrote me off for 5 years. And I showed them look, I'm sorry it took so long to provide this for you, but here it is. And a handful of them did apologize, which was nice 5 years later, but we are marching forward. I do believe the truth will continue to come out, and I'm here for it.
So you were talking about the Fulton County, they counted essentially fraudulent ballots, hundreds of thousands of them, right?
315,000 fraudulent ballots. That had to have gone at least 97% in one direction, because Trump only lost Georgia by 12,000 votes. So,
people had a right to be upset on January 6th, right?
Absolutely. When my kids are doing something wrong, and I suspect something is doing wrong, and they say, please don't go look in there, it usually means I should go look in there. When they're boarding up windows, that should have been just the number one reason why we should be looking. When they started kicking out ballot watchers, when they said we're having, leaks in pipes, where's the work order for the leak for the pipe, right? We don't have any of these things. Everyone knew what was going on. Everyone.
Yes, that's right. I do remember. I was watching from the Trump victory party. It was inside the Trump Hotel in D.C., and they closed down the party. They shut all the lights off because they said, well, we've all stopped counting. And it's like, wait a second, dude, I'm in my 30s. I've seen a lot of elections. What do you mean you stopped counting? What does that mean exactly? That's never happened. They just stopped counting.
No, it was definitely not the status quo. And I think they really wanted to continue with that product. And I don't think we're going to see that ever again. I think there are too many people that are invested in politics now because it really does affect their day-to-day life. I think it woke a lot of people up. And I think sending all of us to prison on misdemeanor charges really, really helped rally people and understand that the government is willing and will come after you if you ever go to the ivory tower and say enough.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so let's just talk really quickly. I've been wanting you to come on the program. We've had plenty of J6ers on the program and talking through their stories. But since yours is so iconic, right here, we got your post up, I believe it's from today, show up for the job you want. Why don't you talk me through, can you talk me through that day? Like, this has obviously become a very popular meme template.
Absolutely. So I had never voted before in my life. I heard Trump was running, so I voted for him. 2020 came around, I voted again. I showed up to my first Trump rally. And, we're all standing around. It was pretty much just a little get together. We're all kind of frustrated with how things were going in the country and how things went with the election. We were told you can march down to the Capitol, continue to protest. So we did. By the time I got there, everyone was just standing around. We were singing the national anthem, and then they started macing us and pepperballing us. When this happened, I don't particularly like being maced or shot at, so I walked away from that. I noticed that everyone was walking inside the building, so I thought, oh, that's where the protest is going. And historically, people have protested in that building. I mean, it's happened a dozen times since January 6th. So I didn't think anything of it. I walked inside. We were going through velvet ropes. Police officers were taking selfies with us. The lectern, this is one of the biggest lies that they propagated from day one. They said that I stole it, that I broke down someone's door and I took this piece of furniture home. First of all, how? How can I have taken that home? And they had video evidence exonerating me of this that they actually hid from me while I was going through my trial, going through the process. So it never left the building. It was sitting out in the open. I moved it 20 feet. This picture that you see, there were photographers there. They were taking pictures. So I smiled and waved, and that's the whole history. I set it down and left.
So you just moved it 20 feet. There were people with cameras in place to capture everything from you to Jacob Chansley. It seemed like it was all a setup. It seems like it was all designed. Like you just said, police officers were taking selfies with you and were welcoming you into the building. What was that, Adam?
Well, I can tell you that I got lost in the building because I'd never been to the Capitol before. And an officer actually gave me directions how to leave. He was very nice, very polite, very friendly. That body cam footage hasn't popped up anywhere yet. But everyone was just walking around. This was not the violence that we saw that day. And there was a little bit of violence outside. Those things did happen, whether they were, push shoved or, forced to do these things or not. It's a different conversation. But inside, people were not being violent. We were walking around. Now, for this photo, I was charged with felony theft because they said the lectern was over $1,000. It cost me $100,000 in attorney fees to fight this false felony. And part of that, too, was the government said I couldn't raise any money to help pay for my attorneys.
Wait, how can they say that? That seems like what kind of a country do we live in?
Because that's what Biden's DOJ was ordered to do, and that's what they were tolerated and allowed to do.
I just don't even know how that's even remotely legal. I mean, are you even are you considering any type of restitution actions against a government that, as you just said, clearly hid evidence that you were exonerated from these charges?
I have reached out to a handful of high-profile attorneys, and no one wants to take the case. J6 is still kind of toxic for a lot of people in their careers. In the meantime, I do have a website. I did write a book. I'll make sure you get a copy. It is called Taking a Stand, and it's on my website at unlicenssedfurnituremovers.com. I encourage you guys to go there and get a copy of the book if you want to hear what actually happened.
What is your parting message to Nancy Pelosi? Donald Trump just did a number on her. But it seems like there was a concerted effort to destroy your life. And if that effort came from one person in particular, certainly it was Nancy Pelosi, the January 6th committee. And there was a considerable amount of fraudulence inside of those committees and hiding of evidence. As you just said, you were a victim of that.
My parting message to quote the great Lord Mike Davis, justice is coming.
All right. Just to follow up on that, Mike's talked with me a little bit and talked a little bit on the show about potential restitution from the DOJ. You may not have to sue. There may be wrongful conviction restitutions, and there's a massive fund for that. Have you heard anything about that or any potential? Because, listen, what you just laid out is like the nightmare scenario that thousands of other J6ers went through. They hid the evidence. They charged you maximally for minimal discretions, if any discretions. You were the victim, actually, and turned into the villain that day. And it all seemed to be done for theater, right? Like if you follow Jacob Chansley's story, it's like obvious. They just selected him for central casting. They took that photo of you and that was plastered in every newspaper in the world. And right? Like this is the front of the New York Times. And I mean, while that's like epic and funny, in retrospect, you had to go through it. I know you have a family. You have a beautiful family. How many kids you got? You have 5 kids?
5 sons.
Yes.
5 sons.
Right. That's right. So you were facing prison time, right? Like
they were talking about 20 years initially. And, I heard all this on the news and I called my wife and I said, look, I don't expect you to wait around for 20 years. I wouldn't ask you to do that. And she told me I was being completely stupid, that we made a vow to each other and she was going to honor that however long it would take. We sat down and talked to the kids and said, Dad may be going away for a little bit, but I will come home. I will be back. It was one of the most difficult things we ever had to do. We had a fantastic attorney, so we ended up beating the felony theft and the misdemeanor violent entry charge. And the government settled on, misdemeanor trespassing. And I got 75 days in federal prison for it.
Misdemeanor trespassing. Oh, the team knows what video I want to play right now, but we're up against a hard out. It's the video of Nancy Pelosi saying trespassing at the Capitol. I've been waiting for this. Dude, it was like all a setup. Pelosi said it during January 6th. What Speaker of the House says trespassing at the Capitol? I've been waiting for this. She said it in her own documentary.
Yes, her daughter was filming a documentary that day at the Capitol. She's on camera also talking about, these people are going to get prosecuted, but they really shouldn't. Like there's all this, there's so much to the story. So
it's wicked. It's wicked. I did just want to pin down. Do you think that you will ever get restitution potentially from the government for a wrongful prosecution? There's quite a fund for that.
The government would first have to admit that what they did was wrong, and they are not, historically speaking, that typically does not happen. So while it would be nice, it'd be a good windfall, we could definitely use it. I don't see it happening.
All right, really quickly here, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I hope that you'll stick with me, Adam. My team has loaded up dozens of you as a meme. So I just want to go through them very quickly here. Let's begin here. I don't really understand what the context of that is. Let's keep going. Okay, I can do better. There you go. All right. Okay, this is not. Again, let's keep going. All right, here we go. There you go. All right, Trump walking away with Venezuela. Man, Trump in Canada. That's not bad. Yeah, this is probably coming next.
I prefer Greenland.
Okay, that's right. You are with Maduro. This is I don't know what this. Yeah, put a bikini on it. Grok, I guess that's the joke here. Okay, good. Okay, keep going. Franklin takes a walk. I like that. Very good. You're Franklin. That's an honor. All right. And so Mexican Hakeem Jeffries. This one's good. President Trump, what are you going to do with the oil tanker? He's just going to take him. See ya. Okay. Very good. You and Jimmy Kimmel. All right. Not bad. Ricky Gervais showing up to the Oscars. Okay. This is a cultural moment.
I've not seen that one.
Okay. And a final one here. Adam Kinzinger with his tissues. Okay. Very good. Crying Adam Kinzinger. Well, Adam, we just want to say on this January 6th, we say thank you for the meme material. We are sorry for everything that you went through. Here's the website, by the way, Unlicensed Furniture Movers. I'm amazed at how you've gone through this with such esprit de corps and humor. It's an inspiration, quite frankly, to all of us. We're glad that you beat the federal government, and we will do anything in our power to make sure that restitution is paid to people like you who were sitting there having to have a conversation with their kids that you might be facing 20 years. I mean, the emotional toll of that, man, I'm a father too. That's atrocious. What happened to you was evil. We'll do everything to support you and make it right. God bless you, man.
Thanks for having me on, Benny. Thank you.
Everyone follow the Lectern guy right here. He's got 120,000 subscribers. God bless you, Adam. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Stephen Sund, who is a longtime favored and favorite guest on the program. He's getting ready right now. We appreciate every guest for their patience today. We had a 90-minute President Trump speech, just kind of off the cuff. And so when you have shows like that, sometimes you just can't predict it. But as you probably saw here, as I was sipping from my blackout coffee mug the entire time, I bring it with me to the studio every single day. This is the mug. Boy, this thing has been through a lot. This is probably a 3-year-old mug. They've been a sponsor and a partner of ours for such a long time, and that is because I am a coffee fiend. I'm not yet on the nicotine. I don't think I ever will. I have a very addictive personality. You can only have so many vices. Coffee is mine. And Blackout Coffee, ladies and gentlemen, is a family-run American company that roasts coffee right here in the USA. And this year marks the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Blackout Coffee is celebrating it with a year-long new roast, limited editions, and very exciting releases coming soon. I drink Blackout Coffee every single day in my morning shows. Sometimes I got to drink it like in the middle of the day because we're dragging travel days and so on. We just told you we're going to California. We will be taking Blackout Coffee with us. When we went to the RNC convention, I actually brought a coffee maker with me because that is just the way that I roll. I do not like communist, socialist coffee. I do not like the way that it tastes. Blackout Coffee, ladies and gentlemen, is for you. This is a coffee that actually stands for something. The best way to sign up is a Blackout Coffee subscription. You'll save money and get free shipping on and earn free coffee in their rewards program. Sign up today. Great way to start the new year with energy. Perfect for work, travel, or keeping your desk on a go bag. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 20% off your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny and support American jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of American jobs, Advantage Gold is an all-American company and is a longtime partner of the program. Advantage Gold is, got to tell you, set for the golden era. Gold did great last year. Silver did great last year. And if you were listening to me, you got your hands on physical gold and silver. Remember, the paper stuff can just be frittered away. Same thing. Digital ones and zeros. You want the real stuff. You want to buy physical gold and silver. And I'm really happy that I did so through Advantage Gold. You can also swap your IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver, making sure that you have a rock-solid retirement account. Diversify with precious metals. Text Advantage Gold today. Text Benny to 85545 right now. That's 85545. Text BENNY, and you'll instantly get your free gold investment kit right to your phone. Text Benny to 85545 right now. Make sure that you are protecting your savings with Advantage Gold. Protecting the U.S. Capitol was the job of Stephen Sund. It's our honor to have him on the program because, well, nobody knows more about what happened that day than Stephen, and we appreciate, again, his patience of Job on today's show as we just rolled with it. Let's go. Chief Sund, thank you so much again for your patience and sticking with us today. I'm not sure if you picked up on President Trump's lines about Nancy Pelosi on January 6th during his speech there in Congress, but quite a difference in the way that this is being remembered and recognized than the Biden era, Donald Trump going directly at Nancy Pelosi and her documentary team and her hiding of evidence and Nancy Pelosi's actions on January 6th. I'm sure that must have been music to your ears because you've been quite a critic of Nancy Pelosi.
Well, for me, it's just all about making sure that we're getting the facts out, and I'm sure he sees the facts as well as everyone else, and he incorporates them into his speech as he always does. But yeah, it was quite a speech. That's for sure. But yeah, I'm happy he's mentioning it. I'm happy it's still out there and being investigated. There's still a lot of lessons learned to be taken away from January 6th. And I'll tell you, the guest you just had on, Adam Johnson, the one takeaway I'll have from his interview with you is everyone has a vested interest in politics. If nothing else comes out of January 6th, hopefully there's just a new, renowned interest in politics by the American people.
Yes, that's exactly right, because it can change everything. And there are thousands of Americans, and I want to always remember this on the program, there are dozens of Americans who committed suicide because they knew that the January 6th committee and the commissions and the DOJ were coming after them. And this is something that destroyed lives, that harmed families, and was totally preventable, as you have detailed on this program. But at risk of sounding like a broken record, given the fact that today is January 6th, could you please go through really quickly here, how could this have been prevented that day?
Yeah, and real quick, if I just comment on the suicide, this has been an impactful event, both on law enforcement and on the people that were down there. I mean, you had some suicides in law enforcement, but I still talked to officers that day that just they can't believe the situation they're put in. So yeah, absolutely could have been prevented. There's two key things that I talk about. One, hopefully, has been corrected. The intelligence we were getting was bad intelligence. If we had gotten proper intelligence, it would have supported my advance request for the National Guard on January 6th. We would have had, National Guard, unarmed National Guard around the perimeter, like we've used many times before. I've used them with DC police. We've used them up at the Capitol. We wouldn't have had the issue up there. Congress has already come out and said, most likely, if they had approved my request on January 3rd, the outer perimeter would have never been breached. We wouldn't be here talking. That was number one. I think they corrected that issue, hopefully with the intelligence, with new people in there and handling it. The second was the politicization of security on Capitol Hill. You had a Capitol Police Board that all voting members were politically appointed. That still exists today, with the oversight of four politically aligned oversight committees. That still exists today. And I still think there's way too much politics that play a role in how security is handled on the Hill. When you have a law enforcement chief that has 30 years of law enforcement experience and is saying, hey, I want this type of fence, or I want to put my officers in hard gear, and you're having staffers, override your decisions through the Capitol Police Board, that's unacceptable. That you can't let that happen.
Yes, that's crazy. That's actually the first time I've heard that. So there's politically appointed board that says what you can and cannot do. That is wild.
Correct. Yeah, the Capitol Police Board, they're the ones that, when I went to, I had to go to them by law to request bringing in any resources for my officers. That's why I was getting denied. That's a federal law, and I'm happy to say that based on my testimony, that Congress has now unanimously voted to change that law. They changed 11 months after January 6th, and now gives the chief that authority to bring in resources. But Congress, the leadership, can still override it. It's kind of funny. But yeah, you do. It's way too politicized, the oversight. So when you think of any law enforcement agency, and you think of kind of the top of the pyramid as the chief, that's not the case it is with Capitol Police. You have a Capitol Police Board, three politically appointed people that all have the votes. The one person that doesn't have a vote on the board is the chief of police, the person with the most experience, and he doesn't even have a vote for how his own agency is run. It's crazy.
Do you know Michael Byrd? Because there's some Michael Byrd reporting out this morning that I suppose shouldn't shock anyone, but he's now caught up in this whole fake daycare scandal. It turns out that he's gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars from the feds for running a daycare out of him and his wife's house. And this is after he killed Ashley Babbitt in cold blood, and had also, of course, as we have noted, a very long record of leaving his firearm in bathrooms, available in areas where children were getting tours of the Capitol. This seems like a deeply incompetent man, and somebody who is very unstable, never got any punishment.
Yeah, so someone had sent me some information about that new reporting coming out about the daycare. Other than the limited interactions I would have had with them with my time at Capitol Police, and the incident with the firearm being left was before I was chief up at the Capitol. So yeah, that's limited knowledge of that. But yeah, it's interesting when you see some stuff that comes out. Hopefully this will be investigated. You don't know what's out there. It'll be interesting to find out what happens.
Based on your rules of engagement inside of the Capitol, I'm sure you've seen the Ashley Babbitt murder. Should that have happened? Should Michael Byrd have faced actual consequences for killing an unarmed protester in cold blood, or was that something that was by the book?
So the one thing I'd ask is you got to understand, I think we've talked about this before, Benny. The fact is, January 7th, I'm literally forced to resign and stripped out of my office. Not when I say stripped out of my office, I literally was moved out of my office over that following weekend. So usually a chief of police is going to have, involvement in an investigation, the use of force, what they call the UFOR investigation. Then, we're going to bring in DC police because it was a homicide to do the investigation. We would have worked closely with them. I had none of that. So for me to really go back and kind of, relitigate that or give my opinion without having the ability to look at what I think any chief of police would have access to give that type of a recommendation or a comment on it. It's just, having that stripped away from me, I feel, not at ease at making comments on that. My thing is any death is bad. I don't like any loss of life. It's sad that we had any loss of life that day. The fact that we had 1,700 police officers come in and they all, really used, for the most part, showed a lot of restraint in how they applied force, and especially when that evening I had members of Congress screaming at me for why I didn't order my officers to open fire. I can tell you, I'm so glad there wasn't more loss of life that day, and it's sad we have any loss of life.
Just on the let's just say, just given the details that we know of the Ashley Babbitt murder, and not like using any names or any of the surrounding circumstances, there's clearly rules of engagement, though, right, for armed officers. Do you believe that those were followed in that instance?
So any rule of engagement, every officer that uses lethal force is responsible for, every round that leaves the barrel of their gun. So he has to somehow come out and validate why he used that level of force at that time. Again, I don't know what his statements were to investigators. I believe on this case, there wasn't a grand jury. So, again, we don't have that to go back on. You look at it and you say, this is a protest that was going on, a riot that was going on for approximately 2 hours when it finally had gotten to the innermost sanctum of the Capitol, penetrating the last barrier down there before you get to some of the protectees that he has, the members of Congress. It's a shame. One, I wish it had never gotten to that point. If they had listened to me from the very beginning. And again, Benny, I think about this on a daily basis. If they had just listened to me on January 3rd, we wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't be dealing with that loss of life. We wouldn't be dealing with these injuries. We wouldn't be dealing with officers I know that I was friends with that have committed suicide. That's just a terrible thing. So I wish we weren't here for that, for those reasons.
That's right. And there were so many things that could have been done to prevent it. And you were the guy who was sitting there righteously asking for everything from the National Guard to Nancy Pelosi to pick up the damn phone during January 6th. None of that happened. You were the one who was punished for it, which is very strange. Do you consider yourself a patsy, Chief?
No, I don't. I'm still trying to figure out why, when, my officers are dealing with that stuff on the West Front for 71 minutes, I'm repeatedly denied by Pelosi's team. It's, her Sergeant Arms that repeatedly denying me while he says he's, quote, running it up the chain. I repeatedly tried to get that. And when I couldn't get that assistance, even though I was restricted by law to US 1970, I went ahead and started calling every chief of police I knew to send in resources, even though technically it's probably a violation of federal law. So no, I don't consider myself a patsy. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to try and secure the building and try and protect my officers. It is a shame how it turned out that day. But again, if I was faced with that situation again, I would have done the exact same thing.
Oh, I don't. What I mean is, like, do you think that they pinned it on you in order to cover up for their own malevolence or incompetence? I mean, it seems like you are one of the few people who actually was punished for something that wasn't your fault. You were the guy trying to do the right thing. Isn't that amazing how it works in Washington, D.C.? You're only punished if you're the guy trying to do the right thing. If you're the person telling the truth, you get punished. If you're the liars or the criminals, you get promoted. And that seems to have
absolutely.
happened.
And it doesn't. It's not just my word. Look at the video, and there was a time I was really angry at first. What was it? Alexandra Pelosi there filming. I'm so glad she was there filming, because some of that film has come out to support me in a number of cases. But you look at members of her staff talking to her about firing Chief Sund, about calling for his resignation on national TV in a press conference, coordinating those actions, behind the scenes with her as she's driving over the Capitol. 100%, that was a coordinated effort. You're looking at the one guy that tried to prevent it in advance, tried to prevent it while it was happening, and the one guy that was held accountable by the administration up on the Hill. And I do think it was a concerted effort. All you got to do is watch Alexandra Pelosi's video to see that's the case.
That's right. And as we've seen that, and as we've played those clips, it's become demonstrable that Nancy Pelosi, at the very least, is guilty of gross negligence and incompetence, and at worst, malevolence in wanting this to happen, as she has said so herself on that day. I've been waiting for this trespassing at the U.S. Capitol. We have the clip right here. Just give me sound on this for just one moment.
They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm gonna punch him out. This is
Oh,
my
wow,
moment.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm gonna punch him out and I'm gonna go to jail.
Anyway, I mean, obviously we've played that before. In closing here, Chief Sund, I just wanted to, people are looking for some type of accountability for the cover-up of January 6th, for the incompetence that led to all of this. As we have detailed, and as you have so much documented evidence, it wasn't you, it was Pelosi's leadership and potentially Muriel Bowser who stood and allowed the Capitol to be completely and totally overrun and a riotous mob to form. What would you like to see happen with Nancy Pelosi in a just world, right? If you were the viceroy of DC, what would be happening to Nancy Pelosi right now?
Well, regardless if it's Nancy Pelosi or who it is, I think what people want, like you talked about, accountability. They want a clear, just accounting of what happened that day, who did what, who's at fault, regardless of where the fault lies. I mean, for her, it would have been great if she had just done a little bit of research before she went on national TV and destroyed a law enforcement career. I wish she hadn't done that, but without knowing the facts. And even today, I know for a fact, she knows those facts and she won't correct the record. So I wish she would. But besides that, I think the American people just want a clear accounting of what actually happened. Let's look at this, from start to finish, come up with a good after action. Why did it occur? How to prevent it again in the future? What are the lessons learned? I think there's many, whether it's from leadership, crisis management, communications. And that's what people want. They want an actual after action that they can stand behind, that they say, okay, this isn't political. We're going to actually prevent this from happening again.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's some major frustration, even with the pipe bomber arrest, where none of it makes sense. And nobody's come out and explained any of it. And so it's like, that just doesn't make any sense to us. And it'd be nice to get that authoritatively and with the actual evidence. So,
100% agree, especially when you find out the pipe bomber was arrested on evidence that has been in existence for years. All you got to do is ask yourself, if there was never an administrative change at the FBI, would this case have been closed even today?
Of course not. Right? Absolutely. Of course not. And J6ers would all be back in prison. And I'd probably be in prison, right? Because I went to Trump's speech, and they were planning on just wrapping up anybody who was in DC that day that had a MAGA hat on. So yeah, it is. We are thankful for God's grace and providence on this January 6th and for this new leadership. What a change leadership can make. You should follow a true leader, Chief Stephen Sund, who's been completely and totally brave on this issue, spoken out and attacked for it, sacrificed greatly for it. He has nearly 100,000 followers here, subscribers on X. You should be one of them, a man who's constantly speaking the truth and ratioing Nancy Pelosi. So God bless you, sir. We hope you ratio Hillary Clinton today. If I may, you should go and look at Hillary Clinton's timeline. She has this wretched tweet up about January 6th. and this is ripe for the taking. Here it is. Here it is right here. Yeah. There you go. So yeah, if you're looking for some engagement, you should send a banger against Hillary Clinton today.
I'll have to take a look at it. But again, thanks for all the support, Benny, and God bless you and your viewers, and good luck in California.
Thank you. God bless you, Chief. All right, ladies and gentlemen, some good news that broke on our show yesterday, and just a really quick wrap up here. Despite statements, Minnesota Hilton is still banning DHS and ICE agents. The news broke yesterday that from Tricia McLaughlin on our program that DHS and ICE agents were being refused by a Hilton property, and that is a franchise property. And the Hilton corporate account first went to the property owners and said, "Don't do this. You're not allowed to do this. It's also probably illegal, frankly." They also provided us with receipts here. And independent journalist Nick Sotor went to the property and found out that after they had released a statement saying, no, we're sorry, this is just a mistake, that actually there was still in place a policy to ban ICE and DHS agents. He released that video yesterday. That video, it's right here, clip D, Klein. That video went viral and then got the hotel in huge trouble. Now, Hilton is out with a new statement saying that the franchisees have lost their franchise. Hilton's out with a new statement this morning. Nope, not that one. But the brand new corporate statement saying we are finished with the franchisee. No, it's in my timeline though. We got. Sometimes it's hard to follow the news cycle, and there's a lot going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Hilton corporate account. It's again on my timeline. Yeah, that's all right. There it is. Thank you. So Hilton out saying the franchise has been struck and stripped, and we are not going to be messing with people who ban Trump administration officials or law enforcement officials. So a very good move here by Hilton. I think perhaps more to come from that brand. Quite a bit of damage control to be done yesterday, and we're glad because I like Hilton, and I've been a Hilton. You know, you got to choose hotels to stay at, and we travel a lot. And so I've been staying at Hilton's for a long time, and I hated to see this story yesterday. It made me very, very mad. And it makes me very glad that they are taking this kind of action and doing what is absolutely the right thing, right? And strip away the privilege of being a franchisee with Hilton if you're banning federal agent. Okay. Speaking of stripping away some of the rights that we have, like the right to stay in a hotel without being discriminated against, eat at a restaurant without being discriminated against. Who's the most discriminated against population in the country? Well, the unborn, actually. They're the ones who have the least rights of anyone. And that's evil. It's wrong. It's something that is totally and completely immoral. It is immoral to take a life. Preborn, ladies and gentlemen, helps in this process save the lives of babies. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are rights endowed to us by our Creator. The first, chiefly among them, is life. And that is why it is such a blight, a scar on the face of America and our founding, that hundreds of millions of babies have been slaughtered. The practice of abortion. In fact, you can see that entire generations have been wiped out. About a third of Gen Z has been wiped out through the barbaric and satanic practice of abortion. And so we continue our fight to save these babies. Preborn has helped rescue over 400,000 innocent babies from abortion. Every single day, on average, they help rescue hundreds of babies. When a woman is considering an abortion, she hears her baby's heartbeat and sees the precious baby in an ultrasound. The baby's chance at life doubles. So for just $28, the cost of a dinner, you can sponsor an ultrasound to help introduce the mother to her baby for the first time. 100% of your donation will go towards saving babies with preborn. Please help them. Dial pound 250. Dial pound 250. Correction there. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 and say the word baby to donate securely at preborn.com. Or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Benny. That's preborn.com/Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to rock and roll here. All right, it's been a long show. It's been a wild show. It's been a show that we were, you always plan on doing a little different things. And sometimes President Trump, again, just throws everything out of whack by giving a 90-minute speech. And why don't we end on a happy note here? Polymarket, checking the polls. Rubio and Venezuela. Very interesting stuff here. Let's go. You will see here the Republican presidential nominee is still firmly in the grips of J.D. Vance, but Marco Rubio has come shooting up in the odds because of how successful his stint has been at the Department of State. I just don't think that there's a single overperformer that could take the crown from Marco Rubio. We've known Marco Rubio. He was a totally fine senator. He was a presidential candidate that obviously got into a bit of a boxing match with Donald Trump. Little Marco, we can all remember that. But nonetheless, Marco Rubio becomes the Secretary of State. I think that everyone thought that was fine. I mean, he sailed through the Senate confirmation, but nobody was expecting like world-shattering stuff from Marco Rubio. I mean, not me, at least. And Marco Rubio's performance as Secretary of State has been the greatest overachievement of any Trump nominee, in my opinion. Maybe rivaled only by Pete Hegseth. And so Marco Rubio spiking in the chances that he may be the Republican presidential nominee in 2028, skyrocketing. He's up at 13%. J.D. Vance holding it down at 55%. So we'll be tracking closely. Obviously, Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance have been suggested as a presidential ticket by Donald Trump, but he sort of strayed away from that in his speech today. Our verse of the day from Isaiah 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for the light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. We pray that the glory of the Lord be shown in your life, that you live a life earnest and full of energy, and the promise that the Lord Jesus Christ has for all of us can be found in virtually every single page of the Bible, that he wants to bless our land, that he wants to bless his people, that we are his people, and all we need to do is keep fighting. And so we will keep fighting on this program alongside of you, and in the end, it's the best. We win. See ya.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, when you do the fun, done go. Thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening me. Magnifico. Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. It's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salt in all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny shows a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.